Hey, what's up everyone? We've got a 2019 Mastercraft X24. It's got a little bit of gel coat damage, nothing major. Got a pretty good hole right there in the pickle fork. It's going to be a little metal flake repair. And then down here on the chine we've got a little nick there. Not too bad. This one comes in every season. Sees us for a full refresh, fix any bumps and bruises, get it all detailed up. So we'll get it all finished up, and then it'll get a little acid wash on the bottom. Got a little bit of yellowing, nothing crazy. And then we'll get it over to service for them. Stay tuned. So before we sand it and I show you how to fill it, we're gonna go ahead and get the silicone off of here. We'll get this whole pickle fork solvent wiped and get it ready for glass. Most important part, making sure it's nice and clean. I just got prep solvent on here, making sure the whole surrounding area is nice and clean, free of any wax or oil. That way everything adheres properly. You also don't want to sand first, because then you'll just sand all that junk into the gel and you may have adhesion issues later. Here's how I like to do my preps on small repairs. I like to do 320 immediately around the repair. I like to do 400 to blend into. I find that I can blend into a 400 grit scratch a whole lot easier than I can blend into a 320 grit scratch. 400 you can basically make disappear, so you shouldn't see any blend when it's finished up. So I'm going to go ahead and prep that out accordingly. 320 in the middle, 400 at the edges, and then we'll get into grinding that out, and I'll show you what we're going to use to fill that in. Speaking of adhesion issues, if you don't want to have any in the future, also make sure you don't sand anything higher than 400 grit. If you go 600 or 800, it'll blend really nice until you go to buff it. It'll usually peel back a little bit, and then you're fighting the edge moving on you. So I like to go 400 on the edges of the repair. I like to go 320 immediately surrounding the area we're going to be working and filling and doing all our repairs on. And then the orange tape on the bottom. That's the whole area we're going to go ahead and prep sand, just to make sure we have enough room to do our clear so we can blend it. So I'm going to get to sanding. I only have one hand. I'm using my phone, so I'm just going to sand it and I'll bring you back when I'm done. Another super important, but I feel like often overlooked detail, is that the repair area, this thing will focus, you gotta bevel it in. You can't just do a super hard transition. If you look at the edges here, I did my best to bevel them in, so that way when we're putting material on there, instead of it just being in a sharp hole, or a hole with a sharp edge rather, you would see it shrink back, you'd see a halo. If this does shrink even a little bit, you're not going to notice it as much because it's kind of feathered in to the surrounding area. So that's important, just pay attention to that. Alright, I got it all sanded. So now we got to go about filling this. There's a couple ways you can go. There's not a right way and a wrong way per se, but there are better ways and there are not so great ways. This is Sika by resin, AP017. It's a really, really, really strong filler, like very strong, very tough. That would be fine, but in this case I have this, which is what I would normally mix up by hand anyways, but I happen to have some pre-mixed. It's vinyl ester resin, and it's got milled fibers in it, and that's also very tough, and it's not going to shrink back a whole lot because it's vinyl ester. So we got to grind out all that yucky stuff and get it to clean glass, and then we'll go ahead and build some of that up. Now what we might do is we'll probably end up taking some of this, doing the base fill. Once we rough that in, we'll probably come back with some of the Sika and do a light fairing coat on there, which would be much tougher than using a standard gel coat based fairing compound. So stay tuned, we'll get going. Let me Dremel that out and I'll bring you back. Alright, got my little bit of fiberglass reinforced filler. This is just catalyzed with MEKP, so you just do a few drops. Yeah, you want to do it 1 to 2%, whatever. Size like this, 6 to 8 drops, roughly. So let me mix that and we'll get it put on. Well, it was impossible to do it with one hand and film, but I got the filler on there, got it shaped pretty well. We'll let that cure for a bit. We'll come back, hit it with some 80, do some rough shaping on it, maybe a little fairing coat with the other putty, the AP017, and then we'll get the metal flake on there. Stay tuned. All right, we're all cured up here. Got a little 80 grit on a block. We'll get this shaped. All right, so we got our filler rough shaped. We got to do a little bit of fairing on it though. There's some pinholes and stuff. Pretty normal. So I've got some of the Seca by resin. I'm throwing a little bit of black pigment in it to give us a dark backing for the gunmetal flake. It'll be easier to cover it that way. It'll look really good. Let me show you. Yeah, I know y'all could have done it way better, but it's on there. It was pretty hot, so it was kicking right there at the end, but I got a pretty tight scrape in the beginning, and then we'll go ahead and sand it all flat. There'll be very little of that material left, and then we'll start on the metal flake. All right, here's what you all came here for. We're ready to put the flake on it. So we got gunmetal flake here, and we've got RevChem Ultra Clear. I've got 2 ounces poured off here. Let me show you how we do the flake coat first, because we've got to do a flake coat and then we've got to put some clear on top of it. So let me show you how we do that. Okay, now here's the part you've all been waiting for. I've got my clear catalyzed. I've got my little gun, 1.3 tip. I've got it 0 spray pattern. Real small, real fine, pressure low. So we're going to get some clear just on the area where we want to put more flake. We don't want to clear the whole thing, we're just clearing that one area. Alright, so that's just basically a tack coat for our flake. Now, let's put this over here for 1 second. We're going to grab our very precise tool here with a very calculated amount of metal flake. Here's where the magic happens. Need a little coverage on the bottom, but I'm just lightly blowing it right where we put the clear. I need 2 hands for this. I'll be right back. All right, there we are. And I did put a shipping cover down because this does get kind of messy. But we've got full coverage of the flake. Now what I like to do is I'll take my gun, half trigger, just with a little bit of air, and we'll just dust off any extra flake that we don't want. Now we'll let that set up for a minute and then we'll spray the whole thing with clear. But we got to pull some masking, so give me a second. Alright, so I rolled the tape on the bottom edge just to try to give us a little bit of a softer edge to blend into the surrounding gel. I got 2 more ounces of clear here. We're going to go ahead and build up some clear here, and then we'll have to PVA it after the solvents have flashed off, and then we'll let it cure overnight, and then tomorrow we'll come back and finish it. Alright, there's 1 coat of clear. It's going to take 3 ideally. The first one, as you can still see some of the texture from the actual flake underneath. This is just a light coat, kind of bond everything together. Let that flash for a second, and then we will go ahead and do another wet coat, and then we'll probably do a third. We'll see what we do. Give me just a minute. Oh yeah, that's 2 coats. Got some good build on it. It's looking pretty good. Let that sit for probably about another 10 minutes or so, and then we will do 1 last coat. Then we'll pull all our masking carefully, and then we'll PVA over the top, and then we'll do nothing. We're going to let it sit overnight. I don't want to rush it. Clear can be very temperamental. Give it the time it needs. Leave it alone. Don't even look at it. All right, we're in the home stretch. Got all the clear on there, 3 coats. I used to do 2 coats, but then I found out that when you think you have enough clear, it's just better to put more. I've got PVA in the gun, no liner. We're just gonna mist a light coat And if you don't know what PVA is, it's polyvinyl alcohol. It's basically like a liquid plastic film. So you spray it on, nice even coat, let it kind of sit for a minute and it'll turn into literally a plastic film. It's pretty cool. So that'll prevent oxygen from inhibiting the gel coat from curing. Now we don't look at it, we don't touch it, we don't sneeze on it, we don't breathe on it. We let it sit overnight. Tomorrow's a new day. Tomorrow we'll sand it, buff it, put the rubber all back on, and be ready to go. All right, so it's the next day. Cured up pretty nice. So now we just got to rinse the PVA off. Just water.